So 4.4, we are now evaluating functions from a graph. So instead of giving you an equation, so f of x equals something, we're telling you, hey, here's a graph of this function. So go ahead and throw your name on here. And it is still second hour. So in function notation, f is a function of x. To evaluate a function from a graph, you are going to first find the x value, then look for the corresponding y value. So the values that we are giving you are the x values. The values you are finding are the y values. That is important. In addition to finding and evaluating functions at a certain point on the graph, we're also going to have you guys start looking at the names of these types of graphs and the maximums and minimums. So if your graph has a high point, that is going to be your maximum y value. So that would be your highest y value. Some graphs have a high point, some don't. If your graph has a minimum, that would be your lowest y value. So some graphs are going to have a high point, some graphs are going to have a low point. Some graphs are not going to have either. So if they have a high point, it would be at the top of a hill. If they have a low point, it would be at the bottom of a hill, or a V. Some graphs are not going to have either. They're going to keep going forever in both the positive and negative direction. They're not going to have just one high point or one low point. So let's start by looking at this first one. This is a linear function. A linear function is a line. So the word line is right there in it. First thing that we're going to be doing is finding f of negative 5. Remember that these are my x values, and I am finding my y values. So to find f of negative 5, I go on my x-axis to negative 5. I like to put a dot on my graph there, because then it makes it easier for me to follow it over and find my corresponding y value. F of negative 5 is 2. Okay, the next one. We go on our x-axis to negative 2, f of negative 2. We go up or down to our graph, find our corresponding y value. F of negative 2 is negative 1. Okay, and then the last one, f of 3. We go on our x-axis to 3, go up or down to our y value. I like to put a dot there. F of 3 is negative 6. Okay, then the last thing that you're going to do for these is you're going to look and see if they have a maximum, a minimum, or neither. So this one, and is a straight line, it does not have one set high point. It keeps going forever to the top. It does not have one set low point. It keeps going forever to down. So this one has neither a max or a min. So none. And we just mark that line off because we don't need a value, because there is no value. Right. Any questions about that guy? Hey, let's look at our next one then. We've got an absolute value function. So we're going to be seeing absolute value functions later in this unit as well. Absolute value functions are V-shaped. They can be V-shaped this way or this way. They can be upside down or right side up, but they are V-shaped. So if you want to put a note to yourself, V-shaped. Okay, f of negative 2. We are going to go on our x-axis to negative 2. Go up to our graph. What is my corresponding y value there? 6. Yep. So f of negative 2 is 6. Okay. next one, f of 1. So I go on my x-axis to 1. What is my corresponding y value there? 3. Awesome. Okay, everybody go try to find f of 6 on your own. F of 6. What did you guys get for f of 6? 4? Yep, so I go over to 6, and then I go up to my graph. I have to follow it back over. See that it is at 4. Okay, does this graph have a high point or a low point? Top of a hill, bottom of a valley. A low point. So if it could like collect water there, that would be a low point. So that is a minimum. And we are looking at the y value of the minimum. So the minimum is right there. That would be at y equals 1. I'm going to write it as a y equals equation. Hey, any questions on that guy? Okay, let's flip this over. Let's talk about what type of graph this is. This last one is a quadratic function. We will see more quadratic functions throughout this unit, and literally all of unit 6 is all quadratics. Quadratic functions are U-shaped. This one's an upside down U, but it's still U-shaped nonetheless. Okay, I would like for you to take a second and evaluate this function at these 3 values, and then we'll check it together. So, take a minute to do that. Test yourself. Okay. What did you guys get for f of 0? 2. I agree. What did we get for f of 2? 6. So f of 2 is 6. And then f of 3 is 5. So f of 3 is 5. Especially on these quadratic ones, drawing that dot on there is going to help you be able to follow it over to the correct spot, because they get a little narrow sometimes. Okay, does this graph have a high point or a low point? A high point, so would that be a max or a min? Max. So this graph has a high point, it's a maximum, and that is at y equals 6. Groovy. Hey, any questions? Hey, go ahead and stop this video then.